Stampers. Today we're going to be making this little album here. It's actually a mini booklet to hold photos, recipes, notes, whatever you'd like. I'm going to only be putting 3 pages in here, but as you can see, you could load this up quite high. So, let's get started. Okay. So what I'm going to be using today is Poppy Parade, which is the color paper, which I just love. It's so pretty. It's kind of between a reddish and an orangish color. It's really nice. And I'm going to be using the large scallop circle die, which this is for the Big Shot. So we'll go ahead and do a couple of those, and I'll show you how I did that. So we'll go ahead and use the Big Shot, which is this guy right here. And we're going to put the acrylic plate down, put our die down. Our Poppy Parade paper goes on top of that. And then our other acrylic will go on top of this, and we'll go ahead and run that through. And I don't know if you noticed, but you can go ahead and do more than one piece of paper at a time. So I will show you how we went ahead and did that. So now this time I'm going to take my piece of Poppy Parade paper and also all 3 of my Very Vanilla papers. And we're going to run them through all at one time. And I'll show you how you can do multiple layers, which really cuts your time in half. So we'll go ahead and run that through. And I've actually done up to 6 layers in there. Just so you know, it can be done. So we've got all 3 of our Very Vanilla cut and both of our Poppy Parade. So we're ready to go. So we'll get the Big Shot out of our way here. Bye, Big Shot, till later. There we go. Okay. So the next thing I've done is I've actually taken my stamp set, which is called Tiny Tags. It's this little stamp set here, which is just so cute. And it's great for the jewelry tag. That's what it was basically made for. But it has a lot of really neat sayings in here. Today we're just going to be using the saying friend. But it also has some real pretty little flower stamps in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a little bit around the outside of my Very Vanilla. And I'm going to be using the Poppy Parade. So we'll go ahead and open that up. And we'll just kind of stamp around the edges here, just to give it a little bit more color, a little more interest. And I'll go ahead and do that to all 3 of the Very Vanilla. And you can do some of these off center as well, which I think it adds a little bit of interest instead of always doing it in the same direction. In this card I actually did a couple different kinds of flowers around the edges. But they coordinate really nicely together. So there you go. So we have basically our Very Vanilla pieces finished. So we'll set those aside. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stamp Friends on a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock, again using the Poppy Parade. Okay. And instead of cutting that out, what I've done is I used our 3-heart punch here and the heart to heart, and I used the large one, which this fits in there pretty nicely, as you can see. So I went ahead and punched that out. Then I also used the same punch to punch out the small heart on a piece of Poppy Parade paper. So that'll also be added to the front of our booklet. And the only other really embellishment that we have on the front there is our little bird and a couple labels. So I'll go ahead and punch out the bird, and what I'm going to use is crumb cake. I love this bird punch. It has a bird, a branch, and also the bird's wing, which the wing can be used for multiple different things as well. So we've got that punched out. Then we'll go ahead and use the same punch using the Pear Pizzazz. We'll just go ahead and slide that in to get our branch. There we go. And then again, using the same one, we're going to go ahead and cut out the wing. And this is from the DSP Patterns paper pack, and this is the Blushing Bride. And we'll cut out a little wing for our birdie here. And then before I actually assemble this, I'm going to use some chocolate chip stamping ink and a sponge. And we'll go ahead and just sponge around the bird. Rather than having them just the plain crumb cake color, giving them a little bit of personality. I put a little eyeball on them using my my Stampin' Right markers, and this is the basic black. So we'll just put a little eyeball on them. And we'll go ahead and put on his wing. And I'm just using a little bit of snail adhesive. And we'll attach that right about there. So there's this little wing. And then the only other thing we really have to punch out is we're going to be using a couple of our label punches. This is the extra large decorative label punch. And again, I've used the Very Vanilla. So we'll punch out one of those. And we'll go ahead and ink around this as well. We'll sponge around this as well, just again to give it a little bit of color here. Alrighty. And then we're going to do some Pretty in Pink. And we'll go ahead and use the other label punch to do that. And we'll sponge around this as well. Again, just so everything coordinates. Okay, and then we can start putting the front together. So we're going to go ahead and I used a dimensional to do the pink on top of the Very Vanilla. And these line up really, really nicely together, these two pieces. They're meant to be together, I'll tell you that. Then I went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and sponge this Friends a little bit too, just so that everything kind of matches. Just used a little bit of snail adhesive on the back of the Friends. Set that right in the center. Again, another little snail adhesive on the back of the little Poppy Parade heart. Kind of set that right off to the side there. And then we'll go ahead and just finish up the front of our card. And what I did is I took the front of the actual booklet, used our matte pack, paper piercer, and went ahead and punched some holes just right in the scallop edges. Just gives us some more interest to the book. And this book I've actually used as a little recipe book or as a little photo album. But like I said, it has multiple uses, and you can put as many pages in it as you like, which is really awesome. And this stamp set too, the tiny tags, comes with this baby and Mr. and Mrs. tag in there, and I thought how cute that would be to do like a little tiny baby album for like a grandma's brag book or something like that. So just keep that in mind. There's so many different things you can do with this. So now we have this all finished. So we're going to go ahead and get our card front done before we actually put it all together. So again, I just used a little bit of snail on the back of our label. I'll set that down. The little branch I've actually just kind of hung off the side here. So we'll just put a little bit of snail on that as well. And I've just kind of wrapped it around the inside of that and hung it off like that. And then when I attached the bird, I just used a Stampin' Dimensional again, just to give it some height again. And kind of set them right in the center there. So that's basically your front cover. To put this together, all I did was I took my back cover and all of my middle cover, my middle inserts here, set that right on top, and I had them, you know, not necessarily even, but I do want to show a little bit of the Very Vanilla coming through, so I do have them offset slightly. And for this, because it's quite a few layers, I went ahead and used the Crop-A-Dile, the 3/16 inch side. Went ahead and put that in, punched my hole, And then I just used a key ring to actually put these all together. And I like these. These are pretty easy to use. I just got this at the local hardware store, so it just opens up. And then you can just go ahead and put your key ring in here. And I used a piece of Blushing Bride poly ribbon. Went ahead and just tied that onto the key ring itself just to make it a little prettier looking. And there you have it. A cute little booklet that you can give away. Thanks. Have a great day, Stampers.